Pokemon was developed by Satoshi Tahari, who was born on August 28, 1965. Pokemon is the second most sold video game behind Mario. But there's much more to it than that. First, it's important to know about the creator, Satoshi Tahari. He grew up in Japan, in a small city that started with an M that I forgot. It was a rural area. He enjoyed collecting insects and showing them to his friends and family. He hoped to become an entomologist, a person who studies bugs. But as the forests were cut down, and all the insects died along with his dreams, in his teenage years he fell in love with arcade games, as they got big in Japan. He even skipped classes to go play them. As he fell in love with video games, he wanted to become a game designer. He even took apart his Famicom system to see how it worked. Famicom did invent something for the system so you can make your own games. Satoshi Tahari expanded on that and started designing games. He eventually created the game Mandela's Palace. It was sold in North America and Japan. I am not sure about Europe. He funded and made the magazine Game Freak. This then evolved into the video game design company Game Freak. It was with Game Freak that he teamed up with Nintendo to design and create the game Pokemon for the Game Boy. Pokemon was a dream he had of making since his days of bug collecting. He wanted to share the excitement of collecting creatures with people who lived in urban areas. His dream was realized when the release of the Game Boy in 1989. This system would allow for such a game to be played the way he imagined. His dream was really realized when Nintendo allowed him to design the game for the Game Boy. As he started designing the game, Nintendo became nervous. They didn't get the concept of the game and thought no one else would. On February 20th, 1996, Pokemon Green and Red were released in Japan. Sales were later helped by the myths and urban legends. When announced that Mew could only be attained by physically put on the cartridge at certain locations, many ways to get it truly in the game erupted and caused many people to buy the game. Later, a trading card game, TV show, and lots of toys were made. A special Pikachu game was later released. You could walk around with Pikachu, and came with the Game Boy Color Pokemon Edition. It was followed on many systems that Nintendo made, a few home consoles. Currently, you need a Wii and Pokemon Ranger to get Mew. It is now sold over 130 million copies worldwide. The number one most sold role-playing game RPG of all time. It has suffered many hardships, though. Many lawsuits, many threats, many misunderstandings, which I will talk about in part 2. So please subscribe for that. Please favorite this video, please subscribe again, and please comment.